Bryn, are you better off using those chances against Japan or against Scotland for Jordie or for Roger?
Well, again, we're not, privy to having the kind of thoughts around what they're going to be thinking. But I think what it has done, Jordie having the opportunity to perform well in 2 Test matches, it gives him a position that he can be seen as a 12. And I think, with David Havili coming back, and you've got Anton Leonard-Brown, who might be coming back. If there is injury, then you do have that. I guess the confidence that you can play Jordie. But for me, I think the All Blacks have picked Roger based on the fact that they must see him as an option to be able to develop and have an influence or have the opportunity to possibly be at a Rugby World Cup. And so I think the important thing, he's been in that environment, been able to learn and I guess understand what it has to be an All Black. And let's not forget as well, he's only been one Super Rugby campaign. Didn't get an opportunity to play Bunnings NPC the year previous because of COVID. But for me, it's just been able to. There's no rush right now. I think get him to be able to learn in the All Black environment. He would have liked to possibly have a couple more opportunities within the Rugby Championship, but that's fine. That's just what happened, and so he'll get to go back to Bunnings NPC, and then hopefully, if selected in that Northern Hemisphere too, he'll get an opportunity to play the likes of a Japan or a Scotland. But there's still another year. There's still another campaign of Super Rugby next year to evolve and to get better. But for me, I think he's done so well considering that he hasn't played rugby for almost a decade, and so he should be. I think we should be understanding around. There's no rush. Have been able to give him opportunities, and hopefully he can keep growing. And then when he does get opportunity, he's ready and can perform at that level.
Jordie's proven now, in my opinion. So I don't know if he needs the opportunity, and I don't think Roger's been given a fair crack to warrant him not being selected. Do you know what I mean? So I think those opportunities are there for exactly this reason, and getting a clear understanding of the squad they want to take to the World Cup. And he's definitely in the running, but you've got to give him a chance to actually put his hand up. And I don't think he's been given that at international level just yet. Look back at that quarterfinal against the Highlanders. He can play, man. He could be a real point of difference. He's got some X factor. He's got something you can't coach. So I think we'd be silly not to give him a genuine crack on this end of year tour.
Is the development opportunity for him to wear 23 rather than 12? Is that really what they're thinking, Bryn? That's the place for him at a World Cup?
There's so much to go under the bridge before that happens. But I think, at this stage, that's probably it. Well, it probably shows that, there were 3 injuries. Sorry, David Havili and Quinta Pai injured. And, if you thought probably at the start of the Rugby Championship, if that had happened, you'd think Roger would get the opportunity to play in a Test match. But, they went in Jordie's direction because obviously he played well in that Test match and then got the opportunity to be able to back it up. But for me, I think at this stage, that's probably it. Whether he gets given an opportunity against a Japan or a Scotland to get a start to be able to understand what they might feel like. But I guess at this stage in his development, that probably 23, for example, it's a Test match against England. You'd probably think you'd go with Jordie and then have Roger off the bench again. So I think at this stage right now with his development, the 23 is probably his direction. And that's not a bad thing. Like I said, the guy's only played rugby for just under a year. So, there's no rush for Rog. Get up to more development, keep learning, keep getting runs on the board, like Jip said, whether that be at Bunnings NPC or next year at the Blues campaign, and, make the judgment come into the Rugby World Cup next year.
I think he's a perfect 23, to be honest. I genuinely think he could be an outside. He's shown it in another code, but he could definitely play, the power winger role like Caleb Clark. He could play the finesse role like Will Jordan. Fullback potentially as well. Like he'll definitely have the ability in the air as counter-attacking. Maybe kicking would be the only point of difference that maybe would need to be sharpened up. And then he can play in the midfield. Like, you've covered all bases with one player, really. And I think if, as I said before, if he can get some runs on the board and get given an opportunity in the midfield, which, let's be honest, is probably the 2 hardest positions in the game in terms of attack and defence and the role you have to play. If he can nail that down, I don't think it would be a foreign concept to slip him in other positions. So in terms of that 23 role, he would be a perfect fit.
So with that being said, was it disappointing to see that he only got 10 or 11 minutes when that game was well and truly in the bag, Bryn? Why would they only give him 10 or 11 minutes?
I'm not too sure. I think, for me, we were talking about it when we were watching the game, thinking, the game is done and dusted here. And I know Jordie was playing really well, but for me, it would have been a great opportunity to be able to give him 20, 25 minutes and, give him a real good crack to be able to influence the game. And so, even in that last game, I think with how the game went, it was very stop-start in the last 10 minutes and wasn't really be able to get some meaningful minutes. So, yeah, for me, I was a little bit surprised. I thought, possibly could have come on a little bit earlier, but, for whatever reason, Jordie was playing really, really well, and they possibly could have been thinking about the bonus point and been able to accumulate points with knowing that South Africa were to play. But for me, I would have liked to see him play a little bit more, considering that, I thought the game was done and dusted. But, so it wasn't meant to be.
I won't claim this as my own slogan as such, but when I've chatted to ex-All Black Tony Woodcock a number of times around things like this, he just turns to me and he says, it's not a development team, mate. It's the All Blacks. So, you get your development at other levels, and when you get your opportunity, you've got to take it in that jersey. And I think, rugby championship on the line, plenty to play for. They were going well. Why disrupt it? So I have a different view on it, purely because I've been called out when I've posed questions like that to other players, I suppose.
I just had this image of Tony Woodcock giving you a look like, I don't say much, mate. But what I do say,
would it be the
you're
first
an
one,
idiot.
mate? Would it be the first one? Would it be the first one that's me, mate?
He's not in a hurry to talk code at the best of times, and it's fair to say the conversation wasn't long.